very emotional. When you think 60 years ago, came across this bridge in Russian Molotov trucks with all of us in the back of those trucks, still in the blue POW uniform that they had issued us, made we wear, and it was sure good to get rid of that thing and put on a good old fatigue uniform again. They were called fatigues then, not these combat, whatever you call them, BDLs, battle dress, BDU, battle dress uniform.
Yes, sir.
The very first thing I ate when we got to Freedom Village at Moonsan Ni was a big bowl of ice cream.
Yeah. How'd that sit?
Oh boy, that was. I'm an ice cream eater, I tell you. I was actually a driver. I drove a Jeep, quarter-ton utility vehicle. I drove my platoon leader, and he was a first lieutenant. And I drove that Jeep from Pusan clear to within 40 miles of the Yalu, up there. And finally, it got destroyed in the convoy that they destroyed, that we had to leave on the night of November 30th, 1950. We had to abandon all of our equipment, leave, and the Air Force took care of that whole convoy, destroyed it. 2 days after I was a POW, we were walking, and it was snowing, and we walked right back by a convoy, and I saw my Jeep burned to a crisp as we walked by as a POW. It was a nostalgic situation because I'd been through a lot of experiences with that Jeep. It got wrecked twice, and we had to repair it and fix it. And lost it in the middle of the Chongchon River when that battle of the Chongchon River. It got flooded out, and because it wasn't waterproof, and we left it right in the middle of the river. Jumped onto a deuce and a half, finished our journey, and 2 days later, some GIs were driving that thing past me, and I said, "Oh, stop! That's my Jeep." And I told them they had to get out, and I took possession of my Jeep again. So it was good to get it back. So there was a really, really long story about that good old dependable vehicle. I drove my platoon leaders or my company commander the whole time. Involved in several. My engineer battalion was committed as infantry 3 times between July and December of 1950. And they needed another battalion in the infantry units, and so we were put in there. The last time, of course, was when the Chinese came in, intervened, and we were able to, we were activated as infantry again, and helped defend the division headquarters, that kind of thing. But I don't know how much you want me to talk, but I could talk to you for hours about it. Absolutely. It's one of the strongest alliances that have ever existed in history, is this alliance between the United States and the Republic of Korea, and it's great. It's a great feeling to know that I was a part of helping literally, I think, save the country from communist aggression, from communism. All you have to do is look at that Lights of the World, that map of Korea, of the Lights of the World, and you can see the difference. During my captivity, we experienced about a 16-month heavy indoctrination period where the Chinese brought in English-speaking instructors and tried to convince us that Marx, Engels, and Stalin and Mao Zedong were great, and people like our president and so forth were a bunch of bandits, and that free enterprise or capitalism was no good, and communism was the only thing that really was worth living for. And we resisted the indoctrination quite well. And if there was any torture, there was mental torture. They didn't torture us physically because they tried to convince us that communism was great. You can't beat a guy half to death and convince him that their way of life is the very best thing for humanity. And so it was a situation where we just got sick and tired of the lectures finally, and we told them to go to hell, so to speak. And the lectures they gave up. They finally stopped after about 16 months of this program, and they discovered that they were reached the point of diminishing returns, that they were doing more harm to their cause than good, because we were absolutely fed up with what they were trying to teach us, and told them just what they can do with their communism. They can, excuse me, put it where the sun doesn't shine. No, I didn't think I'd be able to be here right on the 60th anniversary of that, but I'm sure glad to be here, especially with people like this sweet girl here. This is Bo, by the way, in case you don't know. B-O, right? Yeah. I wanted to have my grandson here with me. I don't know if I'd had any idea that they were going to separate us like this. I'd have my arm around my grandson here on one side and Bo here on the other. But he just graduated from high school and has a break between now and when he's going to start college, and so it was a perfect time to bring him with me. So anyway, that's the only regret I have right now. Nope, this is my 5th time. Wow. Came first in 1994 with my wife and one of my sons, and there was a tremendous change even up to that point. I was absolutely amazed at I mean, it was a miracle. Think how terribly destroyed. Seoul, for example, was invaded through 4 times, and Seoul was almost a rubble. And then to come back 41 years later, it was really, really an eye-opener as to just really how tremendously industrious and organized the Korean people are. And like I say, when you compare it with the North now, it's just the difference between light and day. I have a chance to talk once in a while to, in fact, quite a few times to high school classes, U.S. history classes, and tell them of my experience and so forth. And I always point these things out to them, that I make sure that they see the lights of the world and they see that tremendous difference between freedom and captivity. And I just make sure they understand that our way of life, freedoms that we have, are really, really worth it. And that slogan at the Korean War Veterans Memorial, "Freedom is not free," is really, really so. That there was a lot of sacrifices, a lot of lives given, a lot of money spent. More importantly, lives were given for all those freedoms that we have. So I think that it's really, really an opportunity for me to help young people understand that. I wish I could walk out into the middle of this thing.